Hi, so it is about 8:30 in the morning on December 21st. This is going to be something a little bit different than we usually do. Today I am launching a new app. It's an app called Workouts Plus Plus, though at this point the world doesn't know that. Just a few friends and beta testers know that. And I thought it would be interesting to have a little running diary throughout the day of what it feels like and what I'm doing on the launch day. At this point, I'm in the terror phase, I think and terror and self-doubt phase of this, where, in about half an hour or so, I'm expecting to do the actual launching part. The app is kind of approved and ready to go, pending developer release in iTunes Connect. And so in about half an hour, I've said about 9 a.m. Eastern is the time that I'd planned to do my initial launch. It is a little bit terrifying, obviously, to put that out in the world, to not really know how it's going to be received, to not really know if people are going to like it. And while my initial feedback and response has been fairly positive, you just never know. And I've done this enough times to know that this feeling is normal and natural, to be kind of terrified and doubting yourself and like, is this a good idea? Is everyone going to hate it? This is just normal, and this is part of it. Yeah, that's where I am. I've got everything I need for the launch ready at this point, in terms of I have a blog post written. I have a couple of, this year I actually did for this launch, I actually did a couple of YouTube videos, kind of walking through the app, and those are all ready. And so this is in just like the waiting phase, where I'm just kind of waiting for 9 o'clock to roll around and getting more and more anxious as we go. But anyway, like I said, this is going to be an interesting, I'm not sure if this will work, where this will go, but I just thought it'd be interesting to record a couple of little snippets, be just throughout the day checking in, saying how things are going and how I'm feeling, and hopefully that's useful. All right, so now it is about 8:45, and I'm going through the process of setting up what I kind of call like mission control for a launch. So I've got Twitter over here, I've got my help desk system over here. There's like arranging windows all over my screen. Usually if I had a server component, I'd have all the server log, but there's no server component for Workouts Plus Plus, so there's nothing there. I've got a terminal window where I will be launching my blog post from. I've got the App Store open. I've got the affiliate program console up, like the little thing you can put affiliate links in your iTunes links. I have that up because it has a real-time data feature. It doesn't show you purchases in real time, but it shows you links actually getting into the App Store in real time. So I have that up, which is just kind of like, it's probably bad for my sanity, but good for my curiosity. So I have that up and running, and I just kind of have all these windows set up just so that I can kind of sit there. And I also, I just wrote down a checklist, because inevitably as I get more and more kind of anxious and excited about this, I'm going to forget steps that I want to do, things that I want to, places I want to put things, or things that I need to make sure are like turned on now that the app is turned on. And so I have a little to-do list now just written down on a piece of paper in front of me. And as I think of things, I write it down, so I don't have to remember it in the moment. All right, it's 8:51, and I realized something that I should probably mention too that's a bit silly, but something that I do nevertheless. I'm wearing my, I don't know if I'd call it my shipping uniform, but I have a particular set of clothes that I like to wear on days that I've shipped things. Not because I'm particularly superstitious, that's not really for that reason. It's just I have such positive associations with this outfit that I feel happier if I wear it, and so it makes, on a day when it's a bit more stressful, it's nice. And so I have what I call my Captain America Daring Fireball shirt, which is the gray one with just the star in the middle, with no words. And on top of that, I have my 2010 WWDC, I guess you'd call it the light cloth jacket that came with that. And that sort of uniform I have a lot of positive associations with it. I've worn it on, various occasions that have worked out well for me, and that I have kind of nice feelings with. So it's this is kind of funny when I'm getting dressed this morning that I feel like, I'm like some kind of major league pitcher or someone who has a particular thing that they need to do. It's I'd be fine if I didn't launch in my shipping outfit, but it is something that I wear nevertheless. All right, about 8 minutes to go. All right, it's 8:53 now. I probably shouldn't care as much about this as I do, but I've just been spending the last few minutes just writing and rewriting the tweet that I'm going to send to kind of announce it. It's amazingly how difficult writing 120 characters description is, where you want it to be short and punchy and attention grabbing but concise. Like right now, I'm delighted to introduce Workouts Plus Plus, a fully customizable workout app for the Apple Watch, which I think is what I want. And then just a link to the app in the store. Because if I do go make it too wordy or complicated, then it's harder for people to scan. And really, all I want people to do is click on that link. So I want to keep it like short and punchy, and then have them like, here, go and look at this, if they want it. But never so much thought been put into just 120 characters. All right, it is 8:59. I'm watching a clock tick the seconds towards 9 o'clock. The funny thing about launching an app is that it's actually kind of anticlimactic because like you hit the button to release it out into the world. And then it doesn't actually go out into the world right away. There's always this lag and caching delay that happens in the App Store. And so you kind of hit go and then you just kind of sit around for hopefully a few minutes. Sometimes it can be a couple hours, which is a nightmare. But hopefully it'll just be a few hours or like a few minutes, like 15, 20 minutes or something like that. But see, here we go. It is now 8:59. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's 9 o'clock. So the app is now on its way to being released and out in the world. Whew. Wow. All right. So we'll check back in whenever the app actually seems to have propagated in the App Store. So I'm just going to be sitting there constantly refreshing the App Store, trying the link that I got from iTunes Connect, and just keep trying it until it works, I guess. 9:09 a.m. and I'm just sitting here reading the word item not available. The item you've requested is not currently available in the US App Store. Over and over and over again. I just keep hitting refresh, waiting for it to propagate, which I knew would happen, but it is frustrating and annoying nevertheless. It's one of these tricky things where I think, like, should I have hit the button to release like a while ago, but then you have other issues because then it's like out in the world, but you're not really like responsive and on top of it. So I think this is probably the best way to do it, and hopefully it just doesn't take too long. But I will say, reading your item is not available over and over and over again is a little bit frustrating. Ooh, the not available has been replaced with a loading label with a spinner that doesn't end. So that seems like progress. Okay, 9:13 a.m. It is now loading correctly on the iPhone, but not in iTunes. So we are getting closer, probably any minute now. All right, 9:17 a.m. and the moment has come. I'm about to publish my blog posts, send out my tweets, and sit back and see what happens. It's a real thing now, I guess. It's like crossing the Rubicon, can't come back, which is good and bad. Like good in the sense that it'll finally be out there. Like when you work on something for so long, you get so in your head about it and go back and forth about if it's good, if it's bad, what people will think, and now you're actually getting to the point that it's like, it is what it is. It'll either be good or it won't be. And we'll find out in a moment. So here I am. I'm sending out the tweets, publishing the blog posts, and we're away. Wow. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, 9:24 a.m. Initial reactions are a bit I don't even know what to say. It's like, it's always so weird when you get you start getting questions back, which is great. Like, again, people interested in the app, trying it out. It's like overall, I'd say generally positive for the first 10 minutes. Obviously 10 minutes doesn't really make an app. But it's definitely just kind of a wait and see, I guess. In general, I think it's an app like this. So Workouts Plus is all about this highly customizable workout app. So it's like, if you need it, or if you're the kind of person who would use it, you'll know it. And if not, it's like of no use to you, which is definitely something that I think I'm seeing. 9:32. Yeah, it's just out in the world, I guess. Had my first review published about it on Mac Stories, which is always a bit of an honor. I mean, it's the best way to say it. It's like it's just crazy to read someone sort of give a thoughtful rundown of your app, how they use it, how they like it. And in this case, it was a very positive review, which is super cool to hear. I will say I always read those reviews though in the back of my mind. There's this little bit of apprehension, just because it's like you never want to if they miss something or they don't like it. Like there's always that kind of funny thing. But in this case, it was lovely, and John Voorhees wrote it, and it was very kind. But it is always kind of funny to read. Now I just kind of sit back and wait. Weird thing about putting an app out into the world is that there's honestly not much to be done in the near term, unless suddenly you're flooded with bug reports or problems or issues. But so far so good. Now also starts the period where I'll start refreshing the top charts. Kind of compulsively, even though they tend to take a long time to actually update. So like not showing up there for even like a day doesn't really mean anything in terms of your first day sales. But especially given that the app's kind of expensive. I mean, expensive, but I guess it depends on what you mean. It's $4 now, and it'll be $5 after January 2nd. But there's a good chance it won't rank too high in that kind of way because it's not it's not going to have quite the same volume. But nevertheless, I'll just sit there refreshing those pages over and over again, hoping to see it show up. Okay, it is now 10 o'clock, so about an hour since the app hit the App Store. Things are good. About what I would have expected, maybe, hoped for. If I'm honest, I kind of wish there'd be a little bit more interest in the app, but, I mean, who knows? There's so many confounding variables. It's like the week before Christmas, people are probably on vacation more, which is, fine. I launched it this time of year just because obviously it's a good thing for New Year's resolutions and that type of thing, but it's definitely a slower time, so there's not quite as much attention, perhaps, which is a weird thing to say. Like, it's a bit presumptuous to be like, oh, I deserve all this attention, but nevertheless, that's certainly how you always hope for a lot. But the response has been positive. It's been kind of fun going back and forth with people on Twitter about, what their hopes are for the app, some expectations. I just had somebody who said that they might be using it soon to when they go and run a marathon, which while I've QA'd the app quite a lot and I've had some pretty long running workouts to test it out, that is a little bit terrifying to me of someone using my app while they go out and run a marathon, just in case something did happen to go wrong. But it's certainly encouraging nevertheless that they like the concept that much that that's something that they would do. Okay, so it's about 10:30 and things are settling down. So I asked just on Twitter if there were any questions people had about what it's like to launch a app that I thought might be interesting to address on in this little, I guess, audio diary. Had someone ask, how do I time things given how unreliable App Store propagation can be? And you just kind of guess. In my experience, it's usually pretty good, and you just kind of hope for the best. I found that it's better to manually release an app at a particular time. So in this case, I released at 9 o'clock. That's generally better than releasing it earlier and then like the night before, which has some benefits. But then you just kind of have this out in the world when you're not really able to be responsive to customers or problems or issues or promotion. So in general, I prefer to not put it out too much before. I've definitely done something where rather than like this morning, I did it at 9 o'clock. I've definitely done it at like 7 in the morning, or 8 in the morning, East Coast time. Then you have a bit more control over it, but you just kind of hope for the best, honestly. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I had someone ask about a kind of initial wave of feedback you get, which is interesting. Like it's definitely this blessing and this curse where you kind of, you find out the gaps in your app, so obviously like the things, and really even moreover, the gaps in your communication about your app. So like the biggest feedback that you get, if someone asks you if your app has a feature that it does have, then in some ways you've clearly, like somewhere in your marketing, you haven't been clear about how the app works or features. And so it's good to get that feedback so you can update your marketing. Otherwise, it's just great to hear from people because you get this reaction about, it's like you can, no matter how much you think about an app ahead of time, it's definitely always coming at it from your perspective and your view. And you start to get other people's perspective of like things they would like. I mean, and my favorite feedback always is, I love the app. I wish it did X. Cause that is coming from a place of like, they're using it in a way that, they like it this much of it. And then, they wish it did this other thing. Though the reality is that kind of feedback, especially for an app like a workouts app, is really the quality version of that is really going to be coming in the next like week or so after people actually use it for workouts. Because I think with the workout app, it's like all these people have hopefully downloaded it, and they're not really going to know if it works for them until they've gone out and done it a few times. Let's see other questions. How am I coordinating with the press? If I'm honest, I mean, I have a couple of people who I know in the press who I have reached out to. This time of year, like I was saying a little bit ago, it's a really tricky time, I think, because people are so tied up with a lot of end of year stuff. And so from a press perspective, it has not been a particularly full court press in that way. Like it's very much more of just like I've reached out to a few people I know. I'm making sure that I'm very available. Like if someone emails me or tweets me or reaches out to me in any way, I'm trying to be very responsive. But I'm not really doing anything more than that. I had someone ask if so I wrote this app in Swift, and if I expect to continue doing that going forward. I do. I expect to write all my new apps in Swift from here on out. Getting into the reasons why would be a whole episode unto itself. But I expect to do it mostly. Like the short version is, this is clearly where Apple is going, and if this is where I'm going to set up my tent and make my living, then I just need to get on board with that. Whether it's my preference or my ideal or not, it's kind of completely irrelevant. And ultimately, I just need to get on the bus because otherwise I'll get left behind. All right, it is now 11:05, so a couple hours after launch, and I'm going to walk away from my computer. It is a kind of a funny thing when you just, I don't even know how to describe the feeling of just this. It's just like nervous energy, like bubbling around, like just sort of like you keep checking things, even though there's nothing really changing. Like, okay, I can see right now there've been 519 clicks on one of the links that I put out there. Okay, that's great. Now I can reload it and see there are 558. There's some more people, but like that doesn't mean anything. It's kind of meaningless. And so I'm just sitting here refreshing things that don't really matter or change. And so this is usually the part of the morning where I will be like, okay, I need to get up and walk around. I guess maybe what I really should do, since I made a workout app, maybe I should go for a walk and start a workout running while I do it. All right, now it's about 1 o'clock, and things are just settling down. Probably, I'd say. I'm sort of. It was hard to actually take a break from watching and monitoring everything. One trick I do usually try and do, like when I had lunch with my family upstairs, I work from home, and so it's something I can do every now and then. But especially on a launch day, it's nice to take a step back from the computer and kind of force myself to not just watch numbers changing. So that was good. And then now it's just sort of settling in, getting a lot of feedback in the way you expect. And one thing I will say that I've definitely learned is to try to be very careful about what you say on launch day, because it's easy to kind of be like, someone asks a feature, it's like, yes, of course, that too, of course. And instead to try and just be a bit more thoughtful. Like, obviously some of the things people are asking for are things that I was expecting to do anyway. And so it's not a problem to say like, yep, that's on the, on the roadmap, on something that I'm working on, something I think I'm doing. But it is, definitely don't get too carried away is probably some good advice. But yeah, from here on, things will probably settle down a bit. I'll probably check in once or twice more in the day. But, now things are out and it's just sort of in the world. I still keep checking the App Store and haven't showed up in any of the charts, which is fine, I guess. It's always a bit discouraging because it's like you never really, it's like the reason I want to show up in the charts is mostly just like, is anybody actually buying it? Because you never really know until you show up in the charts. But all indications point to that is something that is happening, so I'm not too worried. But I will definitely feel better once I see, even if it's 150th, like all the way at the bottom of the chart. But it's just kind of that last confirmation step. All right, it is now 2:45, and I finally started showing up in the charts. The app appeared first at 53 in the top paid chart for the health and fitness category, which is completely meaningless and utterly useless, because obviously that means nothing to me. I have no idea what that means sales-wise, and because, as best I can tell, like, sales are kind of this sliding, moving average scale situation thing. It doesn't really mean anything at all. But it means one thing, and one thing that makes me very glad. It means that at least one person has bought the app, because you wouldn't rank at all if that is not the case. And, well, obviously I kind of knew that someone had bought the app. There is something assuring about that and nice. And so it's kind of cool. 53, hopefully it inches its way up at this point. And, kind of peaks a little bit higher than that, hopefully. But we'll see. I never really know where to go with an app like this. It's paid up front, which I did largely because I figure if you have an Apple Watch, in order for this app to be useful to you, like, you're a narrower group. And then if you don't want to use the built-in workout app, like, you're even narrower still. And so, like, my addressable market is just so much narrower, that in order for it to make any sense financially, I need to do, sort of have a reasonably high price. And so I went with paid up front, which certainly slows things down a little bit. But encouraging to see, certainly, that it's up and it's ranking, and now I can just kind of keep an eye on things and see where they go from here. All right, and now I think the time has come to wind down this audio diary of today, and kind of close out with my last few kind of closing thoughts. Now that the app is out, it's successful. There weren't any crazy bugs or issues or things, and so overall it was a pretty good day. Before I kind of wrap up with my closing thoughts, in summary, I would like to thank this week's Under the Radar sponsor, which is Pingdom, who is what's one of those great sponsors who is a service I both have used and loved for many years. And you can use Pingdom to monitor your websites and servers. You'd go to pingdom.com/radar, where you'll get a 14-day free trial. And if you use the offer code radar at checkout, you'll get 50% off your first invoice, which is pretty cool. Pingdom is a great service. I use them, have for many years. It's a very straightforward process. You set them up with a URL that you want to monitor. They let you know when it's up or down. But of course, you can do a lot more complicated things too. You can monitor contact forms, e-commerce check-ins, logins, all kinds of things. I coincidentally even used them last week to try and work out when AirPods were going to be available. I just pointed Pingdom at the store page for AirPods and said, this page should contain the word unavailable. And as soon as the word unavailable disappeared, I got a notification from Pingdom saying that it was time for me to go and order my AirPods, which is obviously not the usual commercial application for something like this, but it works great. They're a very reliable service. I've never had any problems with them. And all you need to do is point them at a URL and they'll take care of the rest. So if any of that sounds good to you, head over to pingdom.com/radar. You get a 14-day free trial. And if you use the code radar, you'll get 50% off your first invoice. Okay. So closing thoughts about today. It's a weird thing to say, but overall, I would say that I'm glad that the launch went well and was successful. Like, it did what it went as well as could be expected from a technical perspective. The response has all been fairly positive. You never know if you're going to get a lot of negativity on launch day, and thankfully I haven't had any of that. If I'm totally and brutally honest with myself, I do think I'm slightly disappointed, just in terms of the volume of response. It's a weird thing to say. Like, the app is, I'm sure, it's doing well, but I think in the run-up to launching an app, you put so much time and energy and effort into it that you always kind of you can start getting ahead of yourself and start sort of having these kind of wild expectations or dreams about something, and it's going to be hard for those to be realized in a practical way. Especially, in the modern app store and with kind of the constraints on it, and the time of year and all kinds of things. I mean, there's always going to be a lot of excuses or explanations that I could come up with for why it went as it did. And obviously, this is a bit early too. It's just the first few hours. I mean, the app has only been out in the world for a couple of hours, but you kind of want that first launch to feel good. And, like I said, I'm not disappointed insofar as like it went nowhere, but you always kind of in the back of your mind maybe have this hope of it just kind of running away from you and being bigger than you expect. It's like, and I wouldn't say like I'm underwhelmed by the response, but maybe I'm just like exactly whelmed. Like this was not over or under what I was expecting. It was just sort of right there, which is in its own weird way disappointing, but not disappointed, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so we'll see where we go from here. Now begins the actual process of collecting all this feedback, taking it in and analyzing it, working out what makes sense to make changes in the applications, going back and working on all of my other applications that have been kind of in a bit of more of a holding pattern as I focus so much on Workouts++, though if I'm honest, I won't start that until tomorrow just because I'm a bit fried after today. It's just a lot of emotional and it's just sort of anxious energy that goes through you that I doubt it would be any good at actually developing. But yeah, this is what a launch day looks like. Hopefully that was useful or interesting to you. Obviously this is a very different episode than we normally do on Under the Radar. Marco's not even here. But I thought it would be something that would be interesting to do and to talk about, and to try something new. Both as a creator, I can say that it's always fun to do something new and different just because it allows me to kind of get outside of what I normally do and try something. Hopefully as an audience, you find that is useful as well. But otherwise, probably be back to our normally scheduled programming next week. But now we have Workouts++ out in the world. If you listened all the way to this and you want to check out the app, I'll definitely have a link to it in the show notes. It's a workout tracker for the Apple Watch that I'm quite fond of, as you may have guessed. And if you do any kind of working outs and want some customization, it's a great place to do that. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.